When I talk about the Tafa epidemic, I'm not just talking about the UFC heavyweights, Junior and Justin Tafa. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the grand scale of the heavyweight division. But I am going to be using these two buffoons as the primary example that I'll be going after. And don't get me wrong, I get it. I am disrespectful to the fighters, and they would beat me up in, I don't know, however long you want to put down in the comment section below. That's how quickly they beat me up, and I completely agree with you. But this is a professional sport. I'm not looking at any basketball player, any football player, any golf player and thinking to myself, oh, well, I could easily beat them, but I can still call them trash. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm calling these two dudes trash because they're absolutely garbage. They're god-awful. They beat the same level of opponents, Parker Porter mostly. And both of them are losing to like higher level fighters, like whatever his name was, Walter Walker, or whatever his name was from the UFC card in Perth last year. That completely made Junior over here scream like a little bitch. And then afterwards, Junior was like, oh my god, I'm so offended. And he went to slap him afterwards. What's that all about? First of all, I hate both the Tafa bros. Second of all, the epidemic in the UFC is completely based around these fat heavyweights that are just unathletic and just ruining the sport and any legitimacy the sport could potentially even have. Like, where are the big boned people that want to have a fight? I understand all of them, they realize, oh my god, I'm a bit too fat. I'll just cut down a little bit of weight and get down to the light heavyweight division or maybe the middleweight division, like Jared Cannonier did. None of the fatties are just thinking, oh, I'll just stay fat for the rest of my life. All this skill, all this talent that I might have, I'll just let it go to waste with just burgers and cheese and, you know, Doritos and all that stuff. I'm just going to keep putting on weight, look terrible, by the way. Probably die at a young age because of how badly my physique is. I probably shouldn't have said that. I don't actually believe it, but still, their physique is terrible. There's no way that your heart and your kidneys and any part of your body is performing better by you being fat than if you were just skinnier. Like, I'm just looking at some of these heavyweights. I'm looking at Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis was alright, to be fair. And Tai Tuivasa is a fun fighter. He is skillful. I'm looking at these Tafa bros. I'm looking at Shamil Gaziev. I'm looking at these fat blobs that are just in the UFC division that gas out after the first round. What's happening? Like, how can you show a normal fan a picture of these heavyweights or a fight that they're in and not be embarrassed at yourself? It's completely embarrassing. Because when I was a kid, I remember thinking, oh, well, I didn't really think of nothing. When I was younger, I just knew that the heavyweight division in boxing was like the premier place to be. Like, even when I watched wrestling back in the day, I still do sometimes, but especially Royal Rumble season, watch WrestleMania. Just kidding. Especially when I watch and I see like the heavyweight title or like the heavyweight division, or in boxing, like you hear about Muhammad Ali, you hear about Mike Tyson. You imagine they beat some killers. You imagine like some ripped dude straight out of prison beating up some other ripped dude straight out of like, I don't know, beating his wife. No, just kidding. This isn't a John Jones video. But you imagine something like two world-class athletes, bad dudes in real life, fighting each other. You look at these two guys here and you watch them fight and it's just two fatties that were once plumbers realizing, oh my god, this is a shit job. I don't want to be an electrician for the rest of my life. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to quit this, go punch at some pads for a little bit, and then become a UFC heavyweight, because that's the standard to being a UFC heavyweight. It's the lowest bar that you can possibly go to. And now we have a feature fight of a pay-per-view with Justin Tafa on it. What? And it's just because he's Australian. That's the other thing I wanted to get into. So someone like Rosenstruik, who is, you know, only losing the best guys in the division, is still somewhat fat, but he has some technical skills in his boxing and all that. Like, you wouldn't be completely embarrassed and just curl up in a ball in the corner showing your friends a fight of Rosenstruik. But he gets cut because guess what? The UFC realized he can't hang with the top level guys. He's good enough to beat some of these fat blobs on the come up. So there's less fun in the heavyweight division. It's super stagnant. They need to remove these roadblocks. The same thing they did to Alistair Overeem and Junior Dos Santos years ago, like 5 years ago. Oh my god, it's been 5 years. That's crazy. That feels like it was last year. But yeah, the same thing they did to them. They're like, okay, Rosenstruik, I'm sorry, buddy. We get it. You would probably destroy both of them, Junior and Justin Tafa, one after the other in the same night, if you had to. But, you know, we need some of these fat blobs to come up on the rankings and take a number. And don't be surprised if Marcin Tybura is in next, by the way. Marcin Tybura is in the same boat as Rosenstruik, except he might be even more boring. That's just the thing. That's what we're looking at now. We're looking at heavyweights not being heavyweights anymore because they're not fat blobs from Australia or from a different part of the country, from a different part of the world that the UFC wants to go to. Like, why is Justin Tafa on the feature fight of a pay-per-view, especially in my home country? Well, not home. I mean, it is my home country, it's not my birth country, but I've lived here my entire life. Shut up, okay? Of Australia, like, why are we getting this? Sydney, one of the biggest cities in Australia, that and Melbourne, and we're getting one of the worst feature fights of all time, across any pay-per-view or even a fight card with like a crowd in it. Let's be honest here, those cards sometimes get some good fights in the feature fight nowadays. Like some surging contender that everyone thinks is fun and could become something. Instead we get Justin Tafa, a fighter that no one thinks will be anything, a fighter that everyone agrees is a fat blob, is untalented, is unskillful, is only good on short notice fights to save cards, and even then he's quite terrible. Like, I'd rather just not watch a fight than watch Justin Tafa fight, unless Justin Tafa's the one getting knocked out, because I would love to see him. It's hard to say, 'cause I don't actually want anyone to lose their job, but in this scenario, I wouldn't mind not seeing him in the UFC, but hopefully he bounces back and gets on his feet and fights for some other random promotion that pays him a similar amount of wage. Listen, I'm not a monster, I don't want these guys to lose their job and all their money, but let's be honest here, the heavyweight division in the UFC, it's just so talentless at this point. It just feels like they're just fat heavyweights. I swear to God, everyone says that the UFC's heavyweight division is... or the UFC is just evolving, the sport is just evolving. I swear to God, fighters in the heavyweight division 10 years ago were more skillful. I get it, Mark Hunt was there and he's not the best, but he wasn't gassing out like this. In the rankings, I'm looking at the rankings and like the skill level in the rankings is just terrible. Top 5 and then everyone else it feels like. Rosenstruik was like a guy that was like holding off the younger prospects. What? It's Rosenstruik, he's terrible. I mean, he's not terrible, he beat Tuivasa, so you know, Tuivasa's terrible. Something about Australian heavyweights, man. Like, listen, I root for Tuivasa when he fights, but goddamn, he's trash at fighting. He got one elbow of Derek Lewis, and ever since then, nature has been taking its course. Nature has just been like, oh my God, you have reached this pinnacle of the sport. Time for you to just slide back down to your natural place of being the 13th ranked heavyweight, and maybe you might lose that. Because you're a bit of a wild dude, you could get chinned very easily. You beat only trash cans before you fought, can I even say Augusto Sakai is not a trash can? Can I honestly say Augusto Sakai is a high-level heavyweight? I can't say that with a straight face. He's a trash can as well, until he fought Derek Lewis, who was on the slide. He got him with the elbow, and then he was all of a sudden the number 3 ranked heavyweight. And then naturally, every single good heavyweight that he's fought since has just destroyed him. And that's the problem with the UFC. Apparently, if you're from a specific part of the world and you can guarantee Dana White a finish and make the dumb fans in the arena go crazy, go, ah, my God. I was in the crowd in UFC Perth. I watched Junior Tafa fight firsthand. It was trash. It was terrible. Walter Walker, whatever his name was, absolutely made him scream like a little girl, like he is. I'm sorry, he'd kill me. If he's a little girl, what am I? I don't care. I don't give a shit, okay? I'm not a professional fighter. I'm not someone that gets paid to be in shape, even though I am quite in shape in comparison to... I mean, I've lost 10 kilos before in 3 months. Like, can you not just be disciplined for a year, maybe? And maybe get down to light heavyweight, maybe middleweight, and just refine your cardio, refine your skills? What do we have to watch every time you fight? It's just complete trash. Both the Tafas are trash. I don't like watching either of them fight, if I'm being completely honest with you. They're both overweight, obese. It's just a terrible look for the sport, and I just honestly think being the heavyweight champion means less, because when you look up and down the fighters that are trying to become champion, none of them really have any chance just because of the physical condition that they're in, their lifestyle choices, their body fat percentage. All of that diminishes them from ever becoming the heavyweight champion. Everyone knows it. And that's that, honestly, that's that. And so once you become the heavyweight champion, what does it even mean? You're the best of the fat blobs? Really? You're not beating no killers. Like, are you really expecting me to hear Joe Rogan talk about how, oh my God, he beat Marcin Tybura. Marcin Tybura is a real killer, and just look at him straight in the face and just be like, well, there are other divisions where there's much more difficult matchups in the unranked positions than there are for the heavyweights in the top 10. Am I really supposed to just pretend like this doesn't exist? Like, can some of these heavyweights please lose some weight? And if you are a natural heavyweight like Stipe Miocic, very talented, Francis Ngannou, very talented, John Jones, he's put on a belly, but you know, he doesn't blow up to 280 kilos, and that's to cut down to 265. He said he was at 235, 240. That's the weight he's at, and that's the weight he feels comfortable moving around in, 235 probably, without having to cut anything. Tom Aspinall, a in-shape heavyweight. Curtis Blades, another in-shape heavyweight. Volkov, in-shape heavyweight. And look at that, nothing to look here. They're the top of the division because they look after their body and they're naturally heavyweights. They're not actually natural welterweights who are just fat as all hell. Let's be honest here, if Justin Tafa lost all of his body fat percentages and got down to like 10% body fat, or 12%, or 15%, let's keep it realistic, okay? I'm not asking these guys to just like kill their bodies. You can get below 10% on fight week. You can walk around on 15% body fat though. You would be a middleweight, at best. Sorry, at worst. A middleweight, that's what he is, a fat middleweight at heavyweight. I'm sorry, this just had to be said. And the fact that these guys are on the UFC 312 pay-per-view, I mean, this guy is... And the feature fight, I'm just guessing they just couldn't book Tai Tuivasa in the same position. So they're like, we'll just get this fatty over here. Anyway, I have put money on Justin Tafa to lose. No actual analysis went into this other than just pure hatred for the Tafa brothers and what they've done to the division. And that the style of fighters that are them, but they've run the division. And I don't care. If, hypothetically, Joe Rogan, Anthony Smith, Michael Bisping are one of these people that are just really smart-witted when they're talking to each other about MMA. If they see this video, they won't see this video. But if they see this video and they come out with some statement, oh my god, this kid really doesn't know what he's about. I mean, I'd love for you to get into an elevator with him. I don't care. Okay, I saw Stephen A. Smith get killed by all of these people. Oh, you wouldn't be saying this if you were in an elevator with Cowboy. Guess what? Years later, it came out Cowboy Cerrone himself. Guess what? Himself said he didn't want to be there, just want to get out there as quickly as possible. Basically saying that he quit. So Stephen A. Smith wasn't even wrong. Listen, I don't like Stephen A. Smith. Screw him, he has the worst basketball takes I've ever heard. But for that specific reason, when you saw Cowboy Cerrone cower up, and he said he thought he quit, why did everyone hate him? Just because he's not a mixed martial artist while you guys have some taekwondo training? Anthony Smith says he's an analyst. One of the worst analysts I've ever seen was literally saying Chris Weidman could beat Sean Strickland. That's the next fight to make for him. With a straight face. He's like, oh, I like that fight for him. Shut up. These guys are all biased. They don't know what they're talking about. I don't care that these two could kill me. And they would kill me in 10 seconds. I'm just going to be honest with you. The sport is worse off with them in it. Anyway, like I said, just from pure hatred, I've put money on this. 125 on Taliesin Teixeira to get rid of the Tafa bro. Listen, I don't know too much about Taliesin Teixeira. I couldn't even tell you what he looks like. I just saw that he was fighting and I was like, screw this. And I put money on him just because I hate the state of the heavyweight division. That's the entire video. If you don't like this video, dislike it. Feel free to do so. I don't care. But yeah, there's a Tafa epidemic in the UFC, and that's just killing the heavyweight division. There's no seriousness to that shit. Like what? So you're top 5 heavyweight. Okay, so that just means you're not out of shape. That's what it means to be a top 5 heavyweight. Oh, what's that? You're not out of shape? Top 5. Get rid of him. Don't get rid of Rosenstruck. Listen, I get it. He's not the best shaped heavyweight in the world. But he wasn't gassing out like some of these fucking Shamil Gaziev is. Okay? Sorry, Lucas Tracy. He sucks. The Tafa bros suck. I'm sorry, they're just terrible fighters. And last fight night, felt like a pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia. We saw these fat blobs going at it and it was just terrible to watch. Anyway, like, share and subscribe. If you want to dislike the video, go for it. Just don't listen to anything I said and just jerk off to these athletes who are just terrible and killing the sport. Do that if that's what you want. But subscribe if you did enjoy the video and agree with anything I said. Like the video, share, comment, I don't know. Do all that stuff. Help the videos out. YouTube isn't pushing my videos. If you don't like it, that's a good news for you. If you do like my video, like. And that's all. I'll see you next time. Oh wait, one more thing. 226 subscribers. I'm growing at snail's pace. I want to get to 250. Make it happen. Like, subscribe. I'll see you next time.